If Tyla wanted to use the word colored, that's good on her. Black Americans are just not going to engage with it. I have people telling me, oh, you need to educate yourself about being colored. No, you're not going to Jim Crow my black ass. She could take her ass back to South Africa where they got that apartheid going on. Go back there. It's okay. Take your colonized ass back there and let them call you colored. I will never take advice from a South African. Understand this. When will people realize that black Americans, we accept a lot of people in American music because we love to see other black people do good even if they are not from this country. But the moment that you try to be funny in our face and play identity politics, we still have the key to the gate. We still have the key to the gate. We still own the keys. She tried to play identity politics. The people around her tried to play identity politics and they lost the game. I'm sorry to tell you. People talking about, so we need to educate ourselves about being called colored. Understand, you must not understand how America works, because the moment that black Americans open up that door to be called colored, guess what's coming behind there? Because you give them an inch here, they will take a mile. You're not going to Jim Crow us. No. This is why they did try to call people colored and blacks. They wanted to take the human aspect out of it. So being called people of color and black people is a very different thing. Now, if you don't stand on those values, that's okay, but we're just not going to consume your music. You do not have the privilege of having us be your fan base. It's okay. And trust me, when black Americans don't listen to it, nobody's going to listen to it. We are the trendsetters. They just steal the trends.
So Tyla's album dropped. I didn't even know her album dropped. For the first week, the sales were 3.5K in America, and that is considered a flop. Her fans are blaming the black Americans. I am confused because it's like, how is it our fault? She flopped. Like, why are you blaming us? Like, there isn't other people who listen to her too. Like, what? Like, honestly, I like some of Tyla's music, but I also feel like there's a disconnect between her and the black fans in the US. Like, I don't know where the disconnect is, but it's definitely there. Like, first of all, she came out last year, right? She came out of nowhere. I'm not even gonna lie, she came out of nowhere to me. Her song Water came out and I was like, oh, okay, this is a bop. And she put out other songs after that. She's very pretty. She could sing, she could dance, but it's just something about her that is just, I don't want to say off. It's just a disconnect between her and the American fans out here. It's like we know her, but it's like we don't know her at the same time. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know how to quite explain it in detail right now at this moment. And another thing that most likely put a taste in most black Americans' mouths with Tyla is when she said she wasn't black. She said she wasn't black. She said she was colored. And we like, but most of your music and everything, like, they're trying to push it on us. They're trying to force it on us. So it's just like, it's definitely a disconnect there.
With 3,000 plus units. Didn't we tell you? Didn't we tell you? You guys told us we don't need black American money. We can come together and do it ourselves. We don't need black American. We can do it ourselves. Didn't we tell you? We told you that when we come together, it's lit for you. I think a lot of people forget that when it comes to anything in regards to culture, right? People don't understand that we are, I think people think when we say we are the trendsetters of the world, they think that's something that we just pumping our chest about, right? They think that's something that make ourselves feel good. We are the trendsetters of the world. That's not a joke. It's not a game and you guys are seeing it firsthand. If we don't like something, the world is not going to like it. If we're not putting our energy into something, the world is not going to put their energy too. So this is a prime example. So this young lady disrespected. We fell back. Love is love. And we know they're not going to go and support over there, right? Because we understand that they tribal. It's going to be a symbolic gesture, probably for one day they're going to support. Yeah, we're going to come together. But they too tribal. So we know that's going to flop, right? And so this is a prime example that we are literally the trendsetters of the earth. That's nothing to just pump our chest about. It's a fact. So again, this is just only the beginning of boycotts. It's only the beginning of anyone that disrespect. They're going to see. We're not going to tear your house down. We're not going to tear your business down. We're not going to do any of that. That's that savagery stuff. We don't do that. They do that over there. We're going to civilly and peacefully show you. And we're going to do our own group economics. See, it's a teachable moment for everybody. All right. With that being said, Chapisa Lachiki.
Hi guys, my name is Olivia and welcome back to my channel. So Tyla, the South African singer everyone has been talking about, is under fire after calling herself colored. Now in South Africa, that's a normal term for a mixed heritage identity. But here in America, that word drags up a long ugly history of segregation and racism. So guys, please don't forget to support us by subscribing to our channel, like and share this video.
Alright, so I know I'm gonna get some heat for this, and I know a lot of y'all ain't gonna agree with me, but let's have the Tyla conversation. Alright, so I know that she recently dropped an album, and I'm hearing all over TikTok, oh, she didn't do well, she attacked the black people, and she, didn't want to be considered an American, or black. She wanted to be considered African, and she was proud African, and she just didn't want to be put into the same category as black Americans. And everybody's saying that really hurt her, that's really affecting how well she does, that she doesn't have the, her team is not around her and telling her the right things to do and the right choices to make as far as that goes, because now her music and everything is affected. Now, although I do agree with how some of us feel, I do. I get it. I know. I feel it all the time. We're not going to sit here and act like she cannot be a proud African and she can't say, well, I'm African, because what is wrong with that? Really, when you think of it, what is wrong with that? If she's a proud African and that's what she wants people to know her as, what is really wrong with that? And let's just talk about the fact that America has made it that way. When you think about us Americans, African Americans, black people here in America, everything is, how do you call it? Stigmatized, everything is looked at really bad. You know what I mean? So maybe she just didn't want to be put into the same circle with all that, with all that garbage, with all that race, because we all know here in America, that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? If you're looked at like you're a black person, you're looked down on. Everybody knows that. So maybe she doesn't want to be put into that category where people have to sit and look down on her. Now, at the end of the day, I feel like black is black, and I feel like part of our problem is we refuse to just support one another regardless. So many, hold on. Let me repeat that. The bulk of our issue is we refuse to support one another regardless. We refuse to support one another. Y'all don't hear me though. And like I said, I get it. I know, anything that has to do with race and has to do with anybody trying to disassociate themselves with us makes us feel horrible, because we feel it 24/7 here in America. That's what we go through every day. I have an earlier post where I'm talking about jobs and how the corporate world will look at our names and will not give us interviews. So I get it. But at the end of the day, we have to know that we still have to support one another. We're never going to get nowhere if we're just still, on the team of attacking one another. And hold on, one more thing. I saw a young lady, and y'all could go look her up. Her post is going a little bit viral, but she was talking about how talentless Tyla is, and I'm gonna 100% disagree with that. She's very talented. She's beautiful. She can dance. She had a really good hit song, or a few of them. She just made probably a huge mistake when it came to disassociating herself with the African Americans here in America, especially when she's, touring here in America, and you're on an American platform and you're discussing your stuff in America, and you choose in that moment to disassociate yourself with the Black American people. Probably wasn't the smartest choice she made, but she's a beautiful girl. She's very talented, and I am rooting for her to come out of this very strong and, get back where she needs to be. So y'all have a good old productive day, and remember, we need to start supporting one another. She's a beautiful Black girl, and she made a mistake, and let's support her.
I'm American. I lived in South Africa for the first half of 2016 and the latter half of 2017, and here's what everybody's getting wrong about Tyla. First off, Tyla's colored. Oh yeah, she's colored through and through. She's not colored in one place and black in another place. She's not, she's colored. And it's an important distinction to make, because being colored in South Africa versus being Black in South Africa have two vastly different implications as to basically what outcomes to expect out of life. And it's specifically due to skin color or race, so to speak. Basically, the difference between America and South Africa in terms of race is, unlike in America, which had the one drop rule, meaning any amount of African made you Black, in South Africa, there was a separate racial classification made for mixed people. With the exception of Cape Malay people, most colored people are some sort of mix of various, corners of the globe that had migrated to South Africa during the pre-colonial periods, plus like native Khoi and San people in South Africa, plus like some kind of African, some kind of Xhosa, some kind of Zulu, or the other southern ethnic African groups that was like down there. Oh, and a little bit white, but not an exorbitant amount. A lot of people like to equate colored people in South Africa with like Creole people in the United States, and that's not what it is. Colored people are more like Latino people, specifically kind of like Dominicans, where it's like they're mixed with previous colonial powers and, another set of like almost like Asiatic, some sort of people, and then a mix of like a little bit of African, but the dominant culture, the way that they constructed race at the time, stigmatized the African presence within the person's heritage, right? And in South Africa, these implications were very de jure, very stark, very overt, very much codified in law, right? If you were colored, there were very specific advantages that you had over Black people, like period. And it could be as simple as passing a comb through your hair that would decide whether you lived like here or there, whether you lived in a shipping container or a, modest home of some kind. Whereas colored people experienced discrimination and displacement and all sorts of those sort of things under apartheid, they didn't experience it to the same extent that Black people experienced it. So, say for example, colored people still lived in these zones that were still like very much under white control. They were still excluded from participating in voting and things like that. But in contrast, Black people were schlepped off into these like homelands, what they called them, and these lands were actually like excluded from South Africa. So they made like different countries out of these places, and people had to, if they wanted to like go work in South Africa, i.e. like 30-mile train ride away, they had to carry these passes. So Black people always had to carry these passes if they ever wanted to like pass the checkpoint to like go to South Africa, i.e. like travel 2 blocks again, to like, get their basic needs to go bring back home, whatever, what have you. Colored people didn't have those requirements. My experience with colored people in South Africa, bear in mind I was studying in the Western Cape. If you ask the plebeian version of me, I'll tell you they were racist. If you ask the astute sophisticated academic that I am, I would say that colored people, due to their mixed race heritage, were by and large placed above Black people in various aspects of life in South Africa, and many colored people had internalized this narrative. And a lot of colored people who do not espouse this narrative had gone through an extensive unlearning process to reach there. This idea that like, oh, don't say you're colored. Colored is a slur. I wouldn't go there, because again, color doesn't equal Black. They're not saying like Black in a mean way. They're talking about a totally different set of people that had totally different status in their countries than like Black people did, right? So again, to reiterate, right? Today, you could go to South Africa, you can go to a public place, and there could be a colored person and a Black person standing next to each other, and they are two different people. You could say that person is colored and that person is Black. And so yes, very much like a lot of like sort of anti-Black socialized, like Latino people, let's just say, like colored people are also socialized to dissociate themselves from Blackness at like certain points. Yes, I kind of study the artists and stuff, the folks that come out. I had heard Tyla in interviews talking about like the Bacardi dance. It's not twerking. No, it's not twerking. Like at first, it's things like that where it's like, yes, there is an implicit sort of conditioning to say like, oh no, I'm not doing a Black thing because I'm colored. This is a colored thing. The appropriation is still there and the benefits are still there. But I don't think that someone like her who like, I think she like left college like kind of early to go and pursue music. Like I wouldn't expect somebody like her to like have a real understanding of those types of nuances and like, have any kind of political education to be able to really like articulate them. And I do think that it's a lot to try to like get one person to have all the answers on. It feels a little bit sacrificial lamb-ish, and I kind of feel like it's unproductive. But with that said, the vitriol against Black Americans from Black South Africans is very real. But why is it happening, right? If Black South Africans are essentially leveraging somebody that doesn't claim them, right? Because Tyla is colored. Tyla does not consider herself a Black South African. Why are Black South Africans essentially rallying behind somebody who considers themselves institutionally above them to scapegoat and, hate on essentially Black Americans? Well, rumor has it, at least at the time that I was there's a tiny little narrative going around in South Africa where there's essentially an inroad for Black Americans to be classified as colored in South Africa. Now, if Black Americans were considered tantamount to colored South Africans, that was spelled TROUBLE for Black South Africans. I could see the massive frustration there. Like, I think that's where a lot of the xenophobia comes from. It's like, you got these folks that, how Black Americans are represented in the world. We're the most like overexposed culture, like literally in the world. The good, the bad, the ugly of Black people is shown to the, to a surveillance extent, right? And that's on purpose. But Black South Africans, a lot of them that are displaying these xenophobic sentiments are afraid of having some folks come in and literally be placed above them in society. It would be a very serious problem if it's not already. I haven't been there in a few years. But when it comes like to the album flop, like, I don't know, flop is a strong word, but we can definitely say the drop has not gone as expected, as anticipated, especially just for like her fan base. From what I understand, they were like told a lot of different things. There were dates and things that moved lengths of the album that was not the same as promised and whatever, what have you. So clearly some things did go wrong, but Tyla was initially very anthropologically grounded in her work, which I really thought was an asset when she first came out. She represented Amapiano. She represented like the South African sound, and really is kind of the first sort of geopolitical event coming out of South Africa. I think of like the Beatles from the 60s, a similar sort of invasion, so to speak. when people say, well, she didn't want to assimilate into Black American culture and she should have learned to assimilate. Well, she did assimilate. If you listen to the EP, she clearly assimilated into Afrobeats. So clearly her team had stopped worrying about America a long time ago. But I think that they overestimated how easy it would be to go into the Afrobeats market. I don't think that they anticipated that, there wouldn't be this sort of sensational uptake of her as there was in the United States. Anyway, I like to analyze artists and musicians from these geopolitical standpoints. Like, I do get a real kick out of it. It helps me to understand, like, the share of power, like, in terms of, like, world dominance and the economic implications of that. So there's definitely going to be more on this. And sorry if this sounds a mess, but this is my initial take.